Hello, you're listening to Got Clutter, Get Organized. I am your host, Janet M. Taylor. I want to say hello if you're a regular listener, and welcome if you're listening for the very first time. I hope you are having a great start to your week. Well, of course, it's June, and of course, Father's Day is fast approaching, and this week we are going to be talking about the organized married man with guest expert Felicia Wallace Benton, who is an interior designer. And then, of course, I will be sharing my product suggestion, my app suggestion, repurpose suggestion, and book suggestion for this week. And my question for you this week, is your husband organized? Is he or isn't he? And did you know that the U.S. Department of Energy found that a startling 25% of people with two-car garages couldn't put a car in it because they were using it to store other things, which is why, I wanted to start this conversation this month talking about the men in our lives. Not that they have all the stuff, but helping them be a little bit more organized. So, Felicia is a designer that has devoted to making your space your personal oasis. She loves working with clients to design spaces that they love and will enjoy for years to come. Her easygoing manner and her ability to listen effectively allows her to capture every detail along with your wants and needs in the design. Her knowledge of color, pattern, scale gives her the ability to create the unique look or that wow to her client's interior, thus designing a space that they envision. So I want you to sit back, listen, take some notes, reach out to her, so that you can have an organized husband or that man in your life can be organized.
Well, listeners, it is June and we're kicking it off because this is all about fathers. Last month we talked about the mothers. This month is the men and the fathers. So I have Felicia Wallace Benton, and she is an interior designer. And this time she's going to be talking to us about the married couples, how they can coexist in a home that is organized. So Felicia, welcome.
Thank you for having me again, Jan. It's always a pleasure.
So, of course, my first question, Felicia, and I was thinking, and I know you told us, but how did you actually decide that the interior designing was something that you really wanted to do?
To be honest, I always love creating spaces. I just thought of it as a blank canvas to create. I didn't know there was a profession in it. But once I started talking to some people, I decided to make a big leap of faith, and I left corporate America to become an interior designer. So my passion to basically, create a empty canvas for somebody to bring together what they envisioned in a space just made it all worthwhile. So that's why I became an interior designer. I just love happy people, and I especially love it when they, fall in love with their spaces. Yeah.
So, Felicia, which brings me to my first question. So, when you're working with couples, what are some of the challenges you see for them trying to coexist when they call you in and they say, well, I want some design service, but then you also see that maybe there's a few little organizing things that they need assistance with. So, what are some of the challenges you find specifically with couples?
Oh my gosh, to get both of them on the same page. That is the hardest thing. Or to your lovely men out there, I mean, you live in the house too, you have to you have to speak your mind. And sometimes I'm looked at by the wife as a bad person, but I have to let her know that, look, it's his house too. You can't just design for you. You have to design you have to design for your husband and your kids in order for all of you guys to function in this space. So 9 times out of 10 is just getting them both on one page, or even to get the husband to speak up to say what he wants or needs for the particular space. So that's my hardest part as a designer.
So what are some of the spaces, I guess, that they find that they need help with? Um,
But
is it, is it like a closet? Is it, well, not necessarily you do closets, but I mean, I know sometimes it's always like, well, she's got more space than I do. But what are some of the other areas that they find is
well,
like,
the most common spaces, believe it or not, are the entryway, the kitchen, the family room. Those are the most common spaces. And also, believe it or not, the master bedroom or bathroom. Yeah, those are the most common spaces. And um, the family room entryway, that is more for not just for husband and wife or for the husbands, it's more for the entire family of how they function and what they need. The master bedroom and believe it or not, the kitchen is something where they both need to work and operate. um, that's where I need both, people's input into the space. I've had clients that is not necessarily about the closet, but how to, when their husband comes on home, to where can he put his stuff so it's not just laying around the room. Or you do, some of my clients may have like a dual purpose bedroom where they do kind of sit and pay bills, and that may become a pile for the husband's change and stuff like that, and keys or whatever else. And they're just like, I can't get him to move this to the closet. So it's not just creating habit, but helping him with his habit. If he wants to put his keys there, why don't we create an area where he could put his keys or his things? Because obviously, you know, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So let's just create a spot where he can be happy, he can continue to do what he's doing, but it's not interfering with your desk space. In the bedroom is more like clothes and stuff like that, as to how to organize clothes, how to create certain places where they can store things, whether it be blankets and stuff, so the wife can pull them out to put onto the bed. The husband really doesn't like all the pillows. So what to do with the pillows? I make the bed. I find it very funny, but my husband's the same way. So I introduce like benches or storage areas so they can do that. And then again, after habit, it just becomes nature to do that. So like I said, once I get them both on the same page as to how they function in the space, in these most common areas, we then design to help them so they can continue to live and throw down their keys or purses, but it's still like in an organized manner. And it doesn't turn to chaos and one person's not upset because it's not as tidy as it should be when company arrives. Or yeah.
and it's interesting you said about the entrance because one time I was at an event, of course it was pre-COVID, and a woman said, she said, Janet, I have got to change my husband. And she said, because, he just doesn't know what to do when he comes in the house. And I said, well, wait a minute. Do you have something in place for him to put his keys, to put his hat, to put his shoes? And she's like, oh, I never really thought about it like that. But she was like, and he's got to change. So, I like how you said sometimes it's just creating a system around that. But it was also interesting how you said the kitchen, because I wouldn't think that would be a space unless both of them are cooks, or maybe one cooks more than the other, in regards to, working with couples.
Well, mostly when I design kitchens, is how people operate in the kitchen. And for a woman, they always want their kitchen to look clean. They don't want to have things laying around. So most husbands, I mean, they're kind of like the same way, but it's just making sure there's a place for everything. If they have like a little computer station, making sure that there's not clutter around there, making sure that, is easy for him to grab his mug or put it away, or just to hide certain things. So you don't have to worry about the clutter. I once recommended, a client wanted all glass cabinets. Now I'm all for that. I have them here in my glass face cabinets so you can see through them. I have them in my kitchen. So for the most part, I keep it neat, but I'm not that type of person where I'm extremely particular of how everything looks. I have some clients that are, and when we're designing their kitchen or trying to give them ideas, if you are that way, throw it out unless you're going to keep just a lovely display in that cabinet, and then you lose that particular space. Because what ends up happening is just like happens in my house. This is why I'm not particular. I may put something away, my husband may come back and grab it and just throw it back in the cabinet. So instead of me wasting energy to get mad at him, it's like, it's okay. It's a cabinet. Like I really don't. It's still neat, but it may not be to my perfection. But you know, so that's the conversation I have. And if sometimes the men are like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. I will try to be more attentive how I put things away, or maybe we shouldn't do that, dear, because I'm not going to be that attentive. If they speak up like that, that helps me in the overall design process to give them other ideas. Maybe 2 cabinets above the stove is what you will have as your decorative cabinets. They're hard to reach anyway. And those are the ones you put your beautiful, vases and display your lovely plates on and things of that nature. So, these are all great ideas. If I get both couples to participate, it could be a really fun experience. And at the end of the day, a place that is functional. Yeah, I put my functional in space in one word. But they'll have a space that's functional for both of them, which is, priceless.
So, Felicia, do you have any, I guess, a couple of tips for the women? I mean, you're married, but you also are an interior designer on how they can, work with their husband to just have like maybe a couple of spaces in their home a little bit more organized, some tricks and strategies that it may have worked for you or your clients.
Okay, so I just have to say communication's key. One thing that I thought about that threw me for a loop was this pandemic. When it first started, I didn't want us to wear our shoes inside of the house. I didn't want us to bring certain things inside the main part of the house. So I needed to set up a place in the foyer. And it was just instilling into my husband, okay, this is where you're going to take off your shoes. This is where we're going to take off our coats. This is where we're going to sanitize ourselves before we go into the house. So once we were both on the same page and we communicated, and we both kind of agreed that this would not mess up our daily routine, and that we could get into the habit of doing it, it just became normal. So that's something that I kind of took with me and doing my own space is that key to communicate. In every relationship, you need to know how to communicate any type of thing to your significant other or to your friend in any relationship. So I try to get my clients to communicate to each other, because without that communication, you don't know how one may feel more about the space or what they need more in the space. And it's hard for me to design for both of your benefit. And for this foyer for my husband and my husband's like, well, I have huge boots, so maybe we should get a huge foot caddy so I could put my boots on instead of just having them lined up beside the wall. So that's what we did. So, he was able to put in his input, and he's like, so what am I doing with my keys? So I, just took out a plastic bin, and now we put our keys in the plastic bin. Instead of bringing them into the house, we kind of worked on storage, and I had to listen to him communicate. Now it's not, I have guests, I'll move this stuff out the way because it's not the most prettiest sight. But for me, it's peace of mind. And for him, it's peace of mind. And, we all feel safe and comfortable coming into our house. So.
And I think that's important because I know with my friend, she works in a hospital. Her husband works for transportation. And then, of course, her son works for a store. And so she had to create, like you said, she had to create that system where they basically derobed. She has everybody derobe in the garage. And then, of course, then they walk through the laundry room and then they do whatever they have to do. But you're right. You have to communicate with everybody and you have to create a system that works. And I think, and you're right. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily look pretty. I mean, I know I have my Lysol spray. I have extra masks. I have them like in a little container by the door. Doesn't necessarily look pretty, but it's convenient. So I'm glad
Right.
you put that in there. So thank you for that,
Yeah.
Felicia. So Felicia, you've at least stressed the important thing when couples are really trying to work together to organize, but also make it, functional and aesthetically pleasing. And I like what you said about the glass cabinets. I mean, they do look beautiful, but then when you start thinking about how you need to like have everything all nicely organized, and it's like, wait a minute, is that a stressor? But how can people get in touch with you to work with you in their homes, in their offices, with them as a couple, or, even a single person who might be listening?
Well, I work with everybody. So you could definitely reach me via email at Benton, BNTON underscore Felicia at yahoo.com. You could definitely reach me there, or you can feel free to give me a call on my cell. I can give that number out. It's 215-808-4786. And through my website. My website is currently being updated, but it still shows you some of the design projects that I worked on, so you can get a feel of my case. Actually, I should take that back. My client's taste, because I truly stand by the name of my company and designing your vision. I design their vision for their space. So it's not really my style, it's their style brought to life. And that is at Felicia-Benton, squarespace.com. So those are 3 ways in which you can reach me.
And of course, listeners, you know that I will have a direct link to Felicia's website on the show page. So, Felicia, I thank you so much for your time. And of course, I know the couples out there are just listening and probably taking notes so they can really work together now. Because, like you said, sometimes they try to make you the mediator. It's like, wait a minute, that's not my position.
I do. I guess start laughing, and then they just laugh with me. I mean, if they're very relaxed, and then I just tell them, I say, you guys just have to come on one page. When you are on one page as to how you want it, or if you both tell me how the space should function for both of you, I can help you to come to agreement as to how you should design it. So, and the hardest thing is just getting the men to communicate. I mean, they the first thing they say is, this is not my area. It's your home. And I keep telling them that it's your home. I mean, I don't like for anyone to come home and not feel comfortable in their own home. I know you have some of them have their man cave, but it's still your home, and it should function for all of you, not just the kids and the wife, but you too.
And that's right. And you've heard it, listeners. It should function for everyone.
Yeah.
So thank you, Felicia.
You're welcome.
Like this show and want to make your own? Let me tell you about Anchor. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Now you can even add any song from Spotify directly to your episode. The possibilities are endless for what you can create, whether it's music analysis, your own radio show, or something the world's never heard before. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free app or go to anchor.fm to get started. So, did you find that interview conversation informative? I hope you did. So now we're going to talk about some tips in Taylor's Tip Time. And of course, these are focused more on your husband or that man in your life. So the first thing you want to do is you want to decide on the area. Is it going to be the garage, the basement, his closet? Schedule a date and time when you are going to work together to get any supplies you need. Maybe right now you just need some trash bags, for either things you're going to throw away for trash or maybe some things you're going to donate. And then the purging part, begin to purge, begin to let go, begin to talk and say, hey, you're not going to wear that shirt that you had when you were in junior high school. Or how about donating something? It could be a piece of equipment that is still usable to somebody who doesn't have. Maybe it's like a football or something like that he know he will not throw again. And then once you purge and you see what's left, then you organized. So hopefully those tips will help you this week in Taylor's Tip Time. And of course, for those of you who've been working on getting organized and feel that you need someone to guide you from start to finish by providing you with details needed to clear your clutter and get organized, let's talk so I can share how you can get back on track and get organized with a virtual session. So first you go to my contact page and schedule a 15-minute free session, free conversation. And of course, I've also reduced my virtual 30 and 60-minute sessions as well. But this will give us an opportunity to talk and see how I can help you with your project. So go to my contact page. And then, of course, maybe you're just feeling overwhelmed because you know what you have to do, but you're like, okay, Janet, I just need a start date, a finish date, and all the stuff I need to do in between. Well, if you're overwhelmed, feeling like you can't manage everything that's happening at work, your business, your life, then let me help you. I work with clients so they can get things done without feeling stressed and burnt out. And you can create a life so you can have time to do all the things you want to do without feeling overwhelmed. So there's a link in this show page, Strategize and Organize. Click that link so I can assist you. Well, of course, I want to thank you for following me on social media, for your likes, your retweets. Please continue to share and also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much, because this on the YouTube channel is more of another version of this podcast. And of course, I've been working on a variety of videos. So hopefully within the next few months, you'll get to see those as well. And of course, check out my Pinterest board. I have a Pinterest board specifically for the organized man, for the garage, and other areas of your home and your life. Well, what's today? What is it? So what's tomorrow? I can hear you. I can hear you. What's coming up next? I can hear you chanting across the country and around the world. It is Toss It Tuesday. And this Toss It Tuesday, I want you to toss the cords and chargers you no longer need. You got rid of the flip phone back in the 90s and you still somehow have the charger. Or maybe, you've moved up to a different type of phone, whereas those car chargers aren't even, working anymore. So think about going through them and organizing them. My app for this week is called Headspace, which a lot of you may have heard of, and it's basically about meditation. Because, women, we need it, but sometimes the men in our lives need that moment of zen too before they start their workday. So check that out. My product suggestion for this week is for the person who has more than 2, 3, 4 remote controls. It's a remote control organizer. It spins. So you can put your remotes in the different compartments and it spins around. It's wonderful. So check that out. Of course, my repurpose suggestion, go to my board and just find some creative ways. Maybe a father figure in your life left you something and you want to figure out a way to transform it. Like cigar boxes. Cigar boxes can go into a whole new world when you begin to repurpose them. And my book selection for this week is The Complete Book of Home Organizing. Therefore, you can go section to section, one at a time, until you finish whatever it is you need to get organized. And my quote for this week is, coming together is a beginning, keeping together is a process, working together is success. Coming together is a beginning, keeping together is a process, working together is success. So, and that's Henry Ford. I want to thank you for listening, and be sure to share this podcast with your family, your friends, and on your social media network. And please be sure to visit my website at janetmtaylor.com. Until next time, I want you to have a clutter-free day, but most of all, have an organized week. Organization is a quintessential element of a clutter-free life. Join me as we take this journey together. Along the way, we will find the necessary answers to your organizing dilemma. My name is Janet M. Taylor, and you were tuned in to Got Clutter, Get Organized.